The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit show. Today will be a very interesting day and maybe the important day for information on health in your life, to be honest with you, because I really looked into it and have from birth to live to be 100, to be healthy. So this is the road to health. I based it largely on information I knew a lot of, which is about 2,000 books in my basement on health, but which gives me, though, I think the ability to judge what are the best systems, the best books. I have no motivation. I'm not asking anybody to send me any money because I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I'm a doctor. It's my job to promote health, and I'm. This based, but the best summary of this is A Fork in the Road, A Hopeful Guide to Food Freedom by David and Jen Unwin. She specifically has a name on this book, but David helped write it with them. You could get it, I think, Amazon Books, real cheap, or you just get it from the library. And so that you not only have my word, but there are websites in here and things that I would like you to look at. So as we said, let's hit the road. Okay. And how to be healthy at 100. You know, I'm 88 3 weeks ago. All my blood tests are normal. I weigh 134 pounds. And have no illness. I'm on no pills. Is that I'm trying to brag? No. It's just I'm trying to be an example of what I want you to be. So when I hit 100, I get somebody to play the piano or tap dance or play pickleball with. No. But so let's get going. Health really begins, you know, when we're born. And in England and in France, they keep statistics on the infant, the day they're born till the day they die. So they have tremendous statistics to base their recommendations on. And I'll go into more details about that because a lot of research here was done by Dr. David Taylor and his wife, Jen, who's a psychologist, and now works with them about the psychology of eating. We will review that. And he worked also with a Roy Taylor, who wrote a couple of books. And they did research 30, 40 years because England keeps the statistics, so does France, incidentally. And that's the reason they were voted the two best health care places to be in the world. They keep statistics so they can look at what's true or not true or do research, and they sure as the devil did it. And what's interesting is that our genetic script, the genes, the DNA that determines what we look like, how healthy we are, when from conception, when the ovary and the sperm meet, it's only about 10-20% written. Yeah, the rest is determined by what is happening in the uterus, and actually it starts with the genetic code of the mother and the father, and there's conception, but it's not written. So what occurs in the mother's life while the child is in the uterus is extremely important. What type of food is she eating? Is she listening to music? Is she a happy person? Is she a sad person? Does she exercise? Does she massage her body to give some warmth to the child? These all influence the genetic script of the child. Yeah, what the child hears, that's the Mozart effect, will affect the child. And what she is eating, type of food that she is eating is affecting the genetic script of the baby. That'll determine whether the child is big or small, or is a sugar addict 10 years down the line. Yes. So it's very important. And what are we feeding the child when it's born? Is it breastfed and getting the best fats? For example, or this breastfeeding for a very short period of time and giving them food, and if the food isn't good, they can turn the infant into a sugar addict very quickly. And the brain reacts differently when they're very young. The brain's not fully developed till age 25. So a lot of these things determined what will happen to the child. And we can, even after they're born, and while they're still in the uterus, we can change the genetics, the genes, through epigenetics. In other words, the habits of the parents, of the mother, after the infant is born, is that our chromosomes have telomeres on them, some strands, and we can affect their gene expression by what we do. In France, and they have what's called the card vitale. It's like a credit card, and you can walk into any doctor's office, stick it in there, and the lifetime history of that individual is on there. We need to have that in this country. We don't even share the data between hospitals here. They have their own system. Yeah, France was voted the best healthcare system in the world. We came out like 37th a few years ago, and it's no better now. So this whole country, we need a card vitale, where you walk into a physician's office, healthcare provider's office, and you stick the card in the lifetime history of the health of what they weighed, what the chemistry was, etc. All the health information is on this card. You can see how important it and why I am so passionate about it. I keep on bringing it up so that maybe our politicians will step up to bat and pass a state law. Even if we had a state of Indiana card vitale, it would be worth it. So let me tell you, I mean, there are many books on nutrition and diet, but after all my reading, many books, 15 years of TV shows, podcasts, that my head is full of health information. But I find out what they are now teaching in England and France really is the best by a long shot. And it all started, let me tell you the story a little bit, about Dr. David and Jen, that's his wife, J.N. Unwin, U-N-W-I-N, okay? And they're all over in this book. I encourage you to maybe read it, because I want you to gather a lot of information about this, not just mine. I want you, for example, to look at their YouTube shows. You probably get 100 on there. You can gain tremendous information. Just go Google Dr. David Unwin or Jen Unwin, and their YouTube shows will come up, and you will gain a tremendous amount of knowledge on top of what I'm going to teach you today. Let me tell you about Dr. David Unwin's and Jen's story a little bit. He was a family doctor, part of the English socialized system. I think they had about 5 doctors that dealt with 9,000 patients. And a patient walked in one day and didn't recognize it, although she had been a patient of Dr. David for 9 years. He didn't recognize it. And she says, Dr. Unwin, you've been teaching me the wrong thing. She was part of an online group of, I think, almost 20,000 ladies who had gathered health information and were able to get rid of their secondary diseases. The majority of them lost a great deal of weight. But instead of being closed-minded, Dr. Unwin instead of being closed-minded, he was a very open-minded individual and gathered information from her, gathered some knowledge, and he spoke to his fellow physicians, and they said, well, why don't you try it, David? Take a group of patients to the side, and he developed a system, and he followed it himself. And David had diabetes, was overweight, so was his wife, Jen, and they lost a tremendous amount of weight, and the disease went away, and you can see their picture online. Just maybe say Google a picture of David and Jen Unwin before and after, although there's some pictures of them here, but I'd like you to see the actual picture. You can see they've had tremendous weight loss, and they look like movie stars. Then they finally, the healthcare system in England recognized their knowledge and the information. They published many scientific papers, I think 8 of them, and the information spread across the world. Now Dr. Unwin and Jen have spoken in 22 countries, I think at least. They're part of an online forum of health where they have about 60,000 members. There are many websites you can connect to, and I'll tell you about some of those when we get done. They're working very hard. Jen, who was a psychologist for other health things, then joined him, and now they're saving the system a great deal of money because people are getting rid of their diabetes. They don't have to pay for the illnesses, and their stories are throughout their YouTube shows and in this book. So be sure to read some of their books, very simply written, especially The Fork in the Road, that tremendous book. And they did their original research with Roy Taylor and Life Without Diabetes, the book that I held over. But, you know, this is not just about diabetes. It's about health, okay? Incidentally, and the main problem has been we've become addicted to sugar, and they address the problem. So, and Jen is a psychologist, so she knows a lot more of addiction. Incidentally, this book was endorsed by very famous people, Dr. Robert Lustig and Gary Taubes. Yeah, you know they're famous, very famous, world-famous people. So that gives it, I think, a little more authority, too. When we grab a donut, for example, which is in our evolutionary bodies, really to seek something and make us feel good, evolution arranges God or whatever, how you look at it to keep you alive. So you grab for the food. The darn trouble is they're available 12 days a year, when years ago, fruits were available, which had some sugar in them, were available only a few months a year. So people did not gain a lot of weight or become sick. And part of this is in our brain. It is a quick response system. The nucleus accumbens, which creates a hormone called dopamine. So if I grab that donut, dopamine would light up like that, and I'm in heaven. The body is so arranged that it has a response system. You produce something, and there will be an opposite response. And the dopamine, I'm in heaven. And then it has the long-term enzymes and hormones in the body called serotonin, which makes us feel happy and lighter for a longer period of time. Dopamine's the quick. Serotonin makes us joyful for an extended period of time. So the main problem really has been we are addicted to sugar. And remember, the addiction process could start in the uterus if the mother is eating a lot of sugar and alcohol, which is a close relative to sugar, drinks alcohol too. The baby will be afflicted and will be born a sugar addict. Mm-hmm. And then I look at the school system and I look at the meal they fed them today, cinnamon buns for breakfast. That's sugar. Juices, which I have much more sugar in them than if you ate the original fruit. Milk, which has enzymes in them, which a lot of which are not good for you because the hormones that they spread on the cow who made the milk, and they give the baby cow growth hormone the day it's born, and then you give the milk to your child. All those hormones that are in the milk, they're drinking them, okay? So make up your own mind. Read a book called Whitewash by Joe Keon and gain some information. Once you read that book, you'll go like this and you'll wonder why you ever gave milk to a child. When I was smaller, I drank a lot of milk. I'm amazed I'm alive, but I changed things. So we're going to teach you how to escape sugar addiction. And so with processed food, where they took the coverings off the seeds, and we're eating processed food, and that is what is causing a lot of this addiction in the world today, because and they have bribed our congressmen, and they've signed. They were given a lot of money, and now we have a processed food nation. Although you're getting the knowledge today and how to eat better. So I'm going to teach you how to, so you won't feel hopeless and not have the food cravings. If you eat the original plant, no processed food, you will be much healthier. And this is what I'm going to teach you. And now the type 2 diabetes, which has 200 diseases associated with it, at least 200, I'm going to teach you how to avoid them. Incidentally, Dr. Unwin and Dr. Talus did the original research, which showed that it is fat in the liver and fat in the pancreas that determines whether you become a diabetic. There are trophies, thin on the outside, but fat on the inside. Fat in the liver and pancreas, 30% of thin people are diabetic. So if you're thin, so, oh, my blood sugar was normal, I don't have diabetes, get a serum insulin test. That is elevated 10 to 15 years before the blood sugar ever goes up. Very important. If you tell me your blood sugar is normal, do I have diabetes? All I can say is you got to be able to tell me the serum insulin and a few other tests, but that's one of the main ones. So you can be diabetic if you're thin, you're overweight. Whether you have fat in your liver or your pancreas is what determines it. And so get tested. Get a good one today is a serum insulin, a blood sugar, okay? And another good one is triglyceride, HDL ratio. Cholesterol is not the problem. That's been a big scam. Here's your statin drug. Many people watching this show, I'm sure they're on statin drugs. So read The Cholesterol Myth, Toxic Effects of Statins. There are many books on that. Read them. Don't stop it or start it because of what I said. Gather information. I was some hospital systems here. Everybody, they operated on the heart or they operated on the brain, they're on statin drugs. Statins cause those diseases. Listen to me, read those books, and it will open your eyes. So get tested. Triglyceride HDL ratio, that's the good cholesterol. ALT, which tells you if there's fat on the liver, we spoke about that. GFR, which determines how your kidneys are working. HbA1c, which is 3 months of sugar. The HSCRP, which will tell you whether there's inflammation in your body. Get those tests. So, and it starts at a very young age. I think children 2 or 3 years old should have a serum insulin test. That's not being done. The pediatricians don't know or haven't woken up to it. So the diet of the parents affects the children a great deal. What are the children eating? What are they feeding the children for school breakfast and lunches? If you viewed them, you just Google them and look at them and you can see. If you eat the diet that I saw online today, and they're feeding our children, they're creating sugar addicts in children. Yes, they will not live to be 100, okay? And they may live to 60s, 70s. They may grab their chest and have a heart attack and die. That can be avoided the majority of the time. That's why I'm here today. And the ones will teach it to you. So the psychological makeup of the family affects the child, because if they're eating bad food, the child will be eating bad food, and then you go to school and they give them bad food, and they're going to be a problem. So cravings for sugar, because they light up the dopamine and serotonin system that make us feel good. Even considering what I know, if you were to lay a donut there and I haven't eaten, because my eyes and smelling it, pretty good chance I would eat it. So smells, vision affect our choices, okay? So we can have cravings on the road. Chips, ice cream, donuts. Fruit has in it fructose. It comes from corn. And industry supports the price of corn. It supports the price of sugar. Yes, our government supports the price of these things as are making our nation sick. Probably 80–90% of the people are diabetic. Some racial groups are affected more commonly. It's not because of a certain color, it's because their culture, and maybe they were in slavery and all they could eat is sugar. Now, yes, these things exist, so get these blood tests done. This is not a racial statement or anything like that. So escape the diet trap, okay, what you are eating. And so this Fork in the Road is a fantastic book. Each person, an individual, is different, though. Some people can get away with anything. It doesn't seem to affect them, but 90% of the people are affected. But every individual is different, so you got to get your own blood tests and accept that and gather information, okay? And be open-minded, okay, and do some reading, and and how we think affects us also. There's a book published called Molecules of Emotion by Candace Pert, which I read years ago, which how our thought process affects us. Many patients would come to see me and go see a physician, and they have symptoms, but it's really the hormones in the body, the neurotransmitters that are affecting them. So you're not just your X-ray, okay? You're affected by how these hormones and neurotransmitters are affecting your body, and we have to realize this thing is attached to the human body. We must understand that emotions affect us. Most of the serotonin, the long-term hormone, is made in your gut. So it's brain-body, body-brain. So what we eat, which affects our biome, is eating a lot of sugar. There'll be different bacteria living down there, which are trillions of them, and they secrete hormones and enzymes, and they affect us. And and the science has been advancing too. You hear the word keto, not just eating plants. When you're not eating much sugar, the insulin level goes down, the sugar level goes down, your fat cells open up, the fat goes to the liver, and the liver converts them to ketones. Yeah, small molecules of energy, and the brain can work off of them. Our organs and muscles can work off of them. They make us feel very energetic. So, and because you're using fat now, you're losing weight. But remember, maybe 80% of the people overweight have diabetes and get those diseases. Yeah, and 20-30% of the trophies. So keep in mind. And Mayor Eric Adams of New York City wrote a book on a plant, and he had advanced diabetes when he was president of the borough of Brooklyn. Couldn't see right, was partially paralyzed, was losing his vision. He went to see people and started reading, and went to see Mark Hyman at the Cleveland Clinic, and he changed his way of eating. Then he wrote a book. And right now in New York City, every child, rich or poor, can get a free lunch, a free breakfast, and a free dinner for nothing. And he's teaching just the plant way of eating, which to me is a wonderful book. I got it. It's really worth reading, but they're a little bit behind because it's actually quite healthy to eat some meat, and he's totally in there against meat. So he doesn't speak about the keto system much. So you need to gather information, okay? Suppose you are addicted to sugar, okay? You got to have some, you see it, boom, you grab it, affecting the dopamine, the serotonin level. But how do you change? Dr. George Ede, who is on this book, and this has honored 8 people. It's not just Jen and David Unman, also Bitten Johnson, a addiction specialist, David Wolf, Anna Freeland, Michael Raleigh, Kiki Johnson, Katie Caldesa, and the names are on here on the back of the book, and their quotes are also in there, and they all work together with David and Jen to write this wonderful book. And so they, but as I mentioned, and Dr. Georgia Ede, working with the doctor, also found the same thing, that the diabetes was going away in the patients, and all of them were spending a great deal less money for the English health system because they weren't sick. The patients were getting well. And of course, and that information then got out, was confirmed, and Dr. Jen Unwin with large groups, and they've been all over the world now. So that's who I want you to look, read the book, look, not just listen to me, look at a YouTube show. They're free. Just Google David, Jen Unwin, Dr. Eid, and tremendous information comes up. So some stories. A patient went to Dr. Georgia Eid, and the patient said, I could do a face plant in a bowl of rice. Rice is sugar. You Google it, it says zero sugar. It's a carbohydrate which breaks down into sugar, okay? It's 90% sugar. How did the people in India get away with eating basmati rice and sickness wasn't so prominent, when now they have so many people in India? The ambassador called me about 5 months ago because they couldn't afford to take care of them. Not enough hospitals, not enough doctors. But I'm happy to say all these TV shows I was doing here for 13, 14 years go to YouTube, and India is translating them into other dialects. And the people can go on their computer, their iPad, and their phone, and they have the information to get rid of their diabetes. This is occurring right now, yeah. And this library is really where it all started. And I have to thank them for downloading this to YouTube. And Dr. Unwin, to try to change your mind about found that infographics, visual things, just like me grabbing that Nona because I'm looking at it and smelling it, it developed infographics which you can get for nothing off the internet site. Just the infographics, David Unwin, and they come up. And what he did, he used a teaspoonful of sugar that you can see it for each food, like rice, a bowl of rice, 150 grams of rice, 10 teaspoonful of sugar. Okay, so the infographics are very helpful, and they're free. You can use them. So when you decide to eat a food, you can find out how many teaspoons full of sugar it tells you the sugar content without having to read labels, which are many times not true. And so eating fat, there's good fat and there's bad fat. Guacamole would be a good fat. And they are not problematic. Okay, it's the sugar is the problem. So what is addiction? Let me read it to you. Are you a sugar addict? You don't know. But a lot of us don't know. Addiction is a treatable chronic medical disease involving complex interactions among brain circuits, the environment affected by your genetics, individual life experiences. People with addiction use substances or engage in behaviors that become compulsive, can't help themselves, and continue despite harmful consequences. So some of us may be attracted or have a craving, but they can resist the second and third donut. So addiction, but many addictions, people are addicted to cigarettes, to alcohol, gambling, different things. But you don't have to. You can get the alcohol out of the house, but you can't get the food out of the house. You got to eat every day. That's really the problem. So, but we have a message of hope. You can overcome that, and it can be taught. Let's go through that. So they use the acronym UNCOPE, easy way to screen yourself. Am I a food addict? So let's go through this simple way. And this was put together by Bitten Johnson for the World Health Organization, whose name is also on this book. Have you eaten sweets more than you intended? Unplanned use. You planned to eat one, but you went back and got another. Okay? And yes or no? Have you ever neglected some of your daily responsibilities due to using sweets or overeating? Yes or no? Have you felt that you wanted or needed to cut down on eating sweets in the last year? Maybe you're gaining weight. Maybe you're worried. Yes or no? Has anyone objected to your overeating sweets in your family, or anyone else that you know told you that they were worried about your eating behavior? Because we all have family members and friends who you see smoking or consuming alcohols or eating bad food. And the last one, have you ever found yourself preoccupied with wanting to, I got to stop here and I got to have some of this fast food? Are you thinking a lot about sweets? Have you ever used sweets to relieve emotional discomfort? There's some stress that's going on every night, and 10 or 12 you get up and you have a snack at night to relieve irritation, sadness, anger. Okay, those are the questions. And then the score, if you're yes or no, 0 to 1. As long as you eat them in moderation, you're probably okay. Number 2, if your score is 2, some issues probably no full-blown problem with sugar, but you begin to worry about it. If you answer 3 to 6, these questions we ask you, it's written for you. You probably are a sugar addict. Okay, and but again, we have the answer on how to get over it. Okay, but at least be open-minded, admit it. We'll do something about it. When you look around, if I were to sit on a park bench or go to a place, have a cup of coffee, and I see the people coming in, look around, look around, look around. But remember I said, only 80% of the people that are overweight are diabetics, but you will admit we're looking at a lot of potbellies these days. I sat next to 3 the other day having dinner. So, but we get to learn what are good fats. Well, not all fats are bad, actually. Guacamole, olives, they're actually good for you. And so, what are the top 10 offenders? Pizza, pizza, chocolate, chips, biscuits, ice cream, chips, cheeseburgers, fizzy drinks. The biggest cause sugar addiction is sugary drinks. That is that's about 60% of it. So drink water, put in some lemon and lime. That's my drink. Not that I wouldn't have a glass of wine 2 or 3 days a week. That actually relieves some stress, makes you feel good. Doesn't seem to have complications, but it can be the start of drinking more. So you got to be sure you can do it. I didn't say drink a wine. I say it might be okay. So a lot of people wrap sweet things in butter, and that increases carbohydrate addicts. Carbohydrate addicts love them, things soaked in butter. Okay, so bread or pizza is what sugar addicts love. Benton, who had a problem, who's one of the teachers here, totally over it, says, I remember stealing sugar lumps, which in Europe they put lumps of sugar in coffee. I mean, I drink coffee and that's fine. Tea, water, and I want to tell you something too, to make it easier and quicker to get rid of an addiction or to lose some weight, is to eat 2 meals a day. And that's what Dr. Unwin and Jen are doing right now. I eat too, but no reason. I'm just trying to learn and teach. And I noticed in this book, he says, a lot of times he eats one meal. He's not hungry. And the reason is, when you're eating natural food, unprocessed food, it turns off the hunger. You're not hungry. And part of the reason is our body, if breakfast is the most important meal of the day, baloney, okay? I drink some coffee in the morning, and I don't eat till noon. My second meal at 6. And because our body has has many hormones, but 5 main hormones: growth hormone, steroids, CCK from the gut. The ghrelin that stimulates your appetite in the morning actually goes down. I play pickleball, walk around the lake, do relaxing things. I'm not hungry at all. I didn't eat. And then I play pickleball, and that secretes some more adrenaline and relaxing hormones and dopamine and serotonin, and I feel good. And at noon, I don't feel like eating then. Yeah, to skip a meal is simple. That's fasting, and it's my own choice, so that's why it's called fasting. And that goes back thousands of years. So learn something about that. That'd be a way, if you do indeed, say, have a weight problem or a diabetes problem, or even a trophy, and actually your insulin level is up, and or your blood sugar is up, HbA1c is up, you can be thin. Get tested. And so how could food addiction be so prevalent? Processed food. But in evolution, going back thousands, millions of years, even animals, but say in humans, the fruits, for example, were seasonal. There was a certain season that foods were grown, and we want to make sure we ate them. We then, in the fall, would store them as fat, and when we had no food available, later on in the winter, and we live off the fat. Animals have a fat switch, actual switch, which we don't have. Like a bear may be pregnant, or my woodchuck living under my house for 19 years now. I notice he really gets big into the fall, and then he's gone for a few months, and he's living off the fat. He has a fat switch. So I think a switch must come on. Now he's starting to lose weight as the fall is approaching, and then he lives off the fat all winter long. He comes out in spring, he's thin, and the fat switch goes the other way. And so he hibernates, but we don't have that system. But that was based on evolution, to make sure that enough energy would be around. So we are motivated to seek out fatty food dinners and desserts, but like myself, there seems to be a set system in our body. Our body turns a certain weight, and if you're eating the same way all the time, it sets it. And myself, for example, like last night, I had some soup that's sodium in it and retains more water. So my usual half pound or so weight loss overnight does not occur because I'm retaining water, because usually I'm 134. I have a set point because I followed the same habits. And people who can have set points in either direction. And so sugar addicts have a problem. And now carbohydrates are everywhere all year round. They're not seasonal. And so a lot of food today is hyper-palatable. It tastes real good. They added chemicals to it to make it taste even better. That's the bliss point. They've done research. The Manila Institute did research to prove what you could spray in the food to make it irresistible. That occurs today. They studied the bliss point. And the brain's still developing in children today's 25 or so. So the bliss point is much higher. They can tolerate a lot more sugar. So a lot of children are gaining weight, becoming diabetic, and so they're eating more processed food, fake food. Incidentally, there is a gentleman wrote a book, and I like you. He also has a website, and he's one of the authors on here, addictionunplugged.com, addictionunplugged.com. Dr. Vera Tarman, T-A-R-M-A-N, is a carb addiction expert and author of a book called Food Junkies. Now, that would be a good additional book to read and a good website, Addictions Unplugged. And this book in the back has 4 pages of excellent websites, which I would like you to use. They go all over the world. They'll help you, they'll coach you, they'll teach you, and it's just fantastic. And more processed food is fake food. So breakfast cereal, snack bars, packets, pre-prepared meals are delivered to you. They're full of sugar and vegetable oils. It has been normalized like smoking cigarettes. You remember I don't know, I smoked one cigarette and coughed all night, thank God for that. I never smoked them, but I know years back, I'm old enough now, so I remember those days where you couldn't go on an airplane without breathing in secondary smoke. Finally, someone had to tell the truth, and laws were passed that controlled that, but about 20% of the kids are smoking again. They're juuling and smoking, and now they're going to approve marijuana in the state, and which is just on the path to smoking. And you wouldn't believe this one. It is true. You can look it up. And I never speak to anyone that knows it. When the cigarette leaves, okay, when they're pulled, and they found the science of it out in 1910 or so, yeah. They soak them in molasses to increase the sugar content of the cigarette. And when you're smoking the cigarette, it's not just the nicotine, it's sugar. There's sugar in cigarettes. Never spoke to anyone that knew that, but I found the scientific papers. And it's in one Gary Taub's books too, but I knew it before I read that chapter. So, you know what's interesting is our blood system has only 1 teaspoonful of sugar in it. That's all. And we don't need carbohydrates. What we need, saturated fat. They said, oh, saturated fat is bad, and that's why we started eating sugary foods more, and the nation went like this. Industry knew the science, so industry knew the science. So we need to eat good fats and protein. Incidentally, if you eat too much protein, supplements and different things, you do steroids to get more protein, the body recycles 80% of the protein. If you're playing a sport or just daily life, muscle fibers break down and they're recycled, so you don't need to eat them, but it is good to, for example, like I'm eating 2 meals a day, with some exception here and there, to eat some protein because the blood sugar doesn't go up, And so, like, eggs are good. Eat some eggs and some good fats, guacamole, an excellent breakfast. And the other meal, almost doesn't matter what you eat, you will be normal. So the physiology of addiction, is because, remember, I spoke about dopamine, a quick fix. We like to repeat it. It makes us feel good. You can see the point. The serotonin, the long-term one, and the brain gets so used to them after a while. Remember that you always have to have a response, and they will down-regulate the receptors. They don't respond as well, so you got to eat a lot more. And then after a while, we develop cravings and compulsions, and eventually you can become addicted, and maybe take the addiction tests I spoke about. So when they developed MRI scans, and Dr. Roy Taylor, who I spoke about earlier, in England, developed an MRI center, and they had functional MRIs. They could make the person eat some ice cream or sugar, and they could now see the brain light up. The different centers in the brain will light up when you eat this food. So that is actually the most accurate test, but it's a little more expensive, so you can't really. But the brain remembers cues of smell, sounds, vision, and it drives repeat experiences. So, but next time you may need a bigger dose because you have been down regulated. And dopamine is a reward and motivation center. Remember the donut lights up, and no matter how strong you feel you are as an individual, you can't believe what happened to me, but it's scientific. Where I gave a lecture in another town, they knew it was my birthday, and you know what they bought me for my birthday? A box of 8 donuts with cellophane so you could look at them. So I could visually look at them, and if you lifted the cover off, you could smell them. And my wife put them next to a coffee machine at home. I said, well, a little bit of stress in the family based on a phone call. And I went to the coffee machine, and I ate 2 donuts. That goes to show you vision can turn addictive. And I'm not feel like I'm addicted to anything, but it overcame my resistance. I hadn't had a donut in years. And not that one would do it that great an harm, but again, but it made me feel better. The stress I was concerned about. So stress is an important thing to try to control. I remember I sold my house and I moved to downtown, and it's kind of interesting. We have a gym in the building, this big building. There are 200 people live in this building on the riverfront. And you can close the doors. And you know what I've been doing? I'd like you to think about this too. On my phone, I downloaded about 22 songs, downtown,
whatever.
And raindrops are falling on my head, just examples. But I've, just out of habit, and something I started years ago, and I've gotten real good at it, I tap dance to the song. Now I'm singing to the song, not every song, but a few of them. Now at Sweetwater, they have karaoke song night every third Monday, world famous music place. I can't believe it. I got on the stage. Now I went to Stoner's, bought me an umbrella, yes, and I tap dance and use the umbrella to singing in the rain. And I have it recorded. You might be able to find it on YouTube. And I'm going to go back every third Monday because it makes you feel good. Stress reliever. What I'm doing in the gym in my building, stress relief. I'm exercising, singing, and music, and constantly adding a new song, a new step, and so stress relief. You may have different way of stress. Maybe for you it's watching a football game, but it's a lot better that you could do, some exercise with it. And so I want you to look at the websites, the YouTubes of Jen Unwin, David Unwin, okay? And I want you also to try to get a hold of the resources, maybe going to the library or buying this book online, real cheap. Lowcarbtogether.com, diabetes.co.uk. It goes on and on, and especially the one I already mentioned, Detail, Addictions Unplugged, by Vera Tarman, and read her book, Food Junkies. You gather information. And this, I think, is the best, and the book is full of recipes. You got what type of food to eat. But again, this is not just a vegetarian or anti-meat thing at all. And they have lists in there of good foods and bad foods. So meat is part of this. This is not just one type of eating, but it's a whole system how to overcome your addiction. Websites, personal coaching, all available on this website. I think Dr. David Unwin, Jen Unwin, and Dr. Roy Taylor have the best method of living to be 100, to be healthy, and be free of disease. So the name of the book, The Fork in the Road, A Hopeful Guide to Food Freedom. This is what I want you to do. I think it's the best system. That if you eat other ways, you can improve yourself. But here, you don't have to take a potentially dangerous drug. You can look on YouTube and look at the one I did, the good and the bad about Ozempic. Don't start it or stop it because something. But look at my YouTube show about the GLP-1 inhibitors. Look at that show. I looked at it again yesterday. I think it discusses the good and the bad. Remember, there's good and it's bad. Some people need it. But this is the easiest way without taking anything. No drugs, nothing. It's a matter of behavior. And this is what I'm trying to get to you. So really, in summary, that it's that type of food, but remember, sugar, nature arranges so that we would eat, that we would seek it. But we don't need sugar, so we can live off fat and protein. Sugar is not necessary for our life. And once we are addicted to it, it does not turn off your appetite. Sugar does not turn, it has no switch to get off of that. That's the reason it is. And remember, nature arranged it that way so that we would at least eat something, but it was only available a few months a year, not 12 months a year. So the processed food industry has destroyed it. And don't just go, some of us need a pill for something, but most of the people don't need, probably 80% of the pills that they're taking save you a tremendous amount of money, and you'll be healthy and tap dance and play pickleball with me when you're 100, maybe 110. I don't know. But I am an example of what I also teach. And I hope that you look at our websites, read our books, especially the Unwins, And they are all over the world now. This is the answer. This other ones, there are some partial answers, and some actually make you worse. But also, I love it in the end, they teach the keto way of eating. Dr. Unwin, 1 or 2 meals a day, which is not necessary. You can go 3 meals a day, no problem, but it's got to be the right food. Anyway, thanks for listening. Look at my other YouTube shows, probably 800 or so on health, many different aspects. Maybe you have a family member, maybe you have a problem yourself. If you're a teacher especially, pay some attention. Don't be closed-minded about it. Be open-minded and gain some knowledge. I did this because I love you, I care about you. I am, after all, a doctor. I think it's kind of my job. See you next time. And